Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Match Grade Podcast. Today in studio, I've got a special guest, a guy who I met about a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, and finally got everything together. And then, we've kind of become pretty good colleagues and friends. Steve Hendricks from the USCCA. Steve, welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. So Steve's here for a very special purpose, and it's actually turned out to be a lot of fun. Steve, tell us why you're here.
Yeah. So I'm not real sure, Dave, why I'm here.
Why are any of us here?
So this was a long process of making this trip out here.
Yeah.
And your persistence and patience gave me an opportunity to put some things together. So we came out, as you know, last week. And over the weekend, we had our defensive pistol program. We had our end user class. And then today and tomorrow, we're doing it's fairly new for the USCCA, our non-lethal program.
Yeah.
And that's the certification process for ASP Defender, the Saber OC / sprays, gels, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The Taser product and the burner launcher. So we've got we got quite a bit of stuff going on.
Yeah. All four wrapped up in one little package.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gang, I got to tell you, this defensive pistol program is actually where Steve and I first got together when I went to Pittsburgh to attend it, because I wanted to do what I did. My plan was I could have done, I think it was 2 or 3 other dates. But when I found out that Steve was going to be at this one particular date, I'm like, that's the one I'm going to. My schedule lined up, all the stars lined up, everything was good. And I got there, and then I was initially pretty wowed by the product, which as you might have heard this, the more you do, the more training you do, the more underwhelmed you are. And what happened is, when I got a little, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I got a little sneak peek behind the curtain when this was first getting rolled out by another colleague of ours. And and it got me kind of hooked, because I started asking him a lot of questions, and he was like, whoa, hold on a second. But after, seeing the program and everything, I dropped the bomb on Steve about my next goal, which we made it happen, got the training counselor. And then it's just snowballed from there. And it's pretty cool.
So this mutual colleague, name, had mentioned, as part of the development of the defensive pistol program, our friend says, hey, Dave Jenkins would be a really great candidate for this. And I think we had touched base via email. I can't remember, but I didn't get followed up appropriately, and things just got busy. And then I saw your name on the roster for that particular class, and I thought, oh, great, because I was supposed to reach out to him. So he kind of saved me the problem of doing that. And we just kind of developed that going. And, not surprising now that I've got to know you, but you were very well prepared for the class, did a great job in the class. And, your expressed interest at the time really kind of befuddled me, because there was not a path for what you wanted to do, but your interest in it was valuable to me in the program, and so we kind of in-run, and that good.
Yeah, we made it happen.
We in-run this process and worked you through and got you involved in the program, and we're really glad we did. It works out for us well, because we have a good experienced instructor teaching the program. We appreciate a great deal of feedback from you too, which you're very forthright in your opinions on what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we listen to that. And this mutual friend had a huge impact in the program. I reached out to him a lot of times for advice and stuff. So we will continue forward. As you know, we're making some adjustments. The last 2 years we did instructor certification classes. Starting this year, when did we start? March, I think, was our first class. End user classes. And so anybody can participate in these classes. However, if you have an interest in USCCA live fire certification, the end user classes that we're doing are prerequisite.
Yep.
right? And so we'll provide a baseline set of skills, look at people, and as we go forward with our new instructor certification process, this will give an avenue so that we have an idea of what your baseline skills are.
Yeah. And I kind of actually do agree with that. When I was with the, when I do instructor certifications for the other 3-letter organization, I always required the student course before they even required it. And now it is part of their program.
Right.
And because I look at it as, you've gotten to know this, but there's a lot of people that want to get into the instructional world and they don't understand the difference between certification and development.
Right.
They think the development happens after you get certified when it's the other way.
Yeah.
And
Ideally, right?
Yeah, it should be that way. Like maybe an apprenticeship. Maybe, you got to get with an instructor and then they put you through, the build-up process and they make you a better instructor. And then you go get certified and it's a cakewalk to get certified. It should be just like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
So many of them, it's a field of dreams. Hey, I'll go get a certification, and students will start coming, and they don't have any background, which is why we transitioned. Realistically speaking, the rollout of DPP as we went through a couple years is not what I would consider a success, and it's because roughly 50% of the people that came had nowhere near the experience or skill level necessary to participate in that level of class. And so it made it very rough to certify instructors in the program. And of course, when half of your class is below standard, that takes away from the folks that are there that put the work in and brought the skills and the knowledge and the abilities to do those kind of things. So we just made a shift. And we said, all right, all of those people that wanted it, it's not like we don't want them, but we need to provide them a path. And so now we're doing skill building, right? We have a way for those people to come take the end user class, learn and develop skills, and then they can see where they, what kind of trajectory they want if they still have that interest in instructor development.
Yeah. And the good thing is like you've got a set of eyes that can look at them. The way it could work is, let's say Ed, our producer, decides he wants to do an instructor course. All right.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
I can put him through the end user course and he's going to have his assessment. He's going to have some evaluation. He's going to get some feedback. He's going to know what he needs to work on and what's working well. So he's going to know his strengths and what he needs to build. And then maybe he comes back for like a refresher session, maybe run through the assessments again and just see if he's gotten better at it and where he can be tweaked some more. And then at some point he can say, I think I want to do the instructor course. And then it's going to be on to me to go, not yet, or yes. And I can feed that up the chain. And then now it's in the development hands of the USCCA and guys like you that are going to go, let's pull this guy because Dave says he's ready.
Yeah. Well, you have to have a target. And you have to have a standard or a minimum standard, if you will. And why would anybody want to reach just the minimum standard? I'm not real sure. But anyway, you have a target, and then you go through and you have an opportunity to benchmark yourself.
Yeah.
And now you can compare it to the target and where you're at. So you may be close and maybe you're not close, but you have a measurable, and then you have a realistic view of where am I at. So if I projected, hey, 6 months down the road, here's an instructor class, I want to go be an instructor, I can say, all right, here's the skill that's required for that, and here's mine. Is that an achievable goal over 6 months?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then you say, okay, I've got to push that out. But and I get it. I remember when I first wanted to be an instructor, I just thought, man, being a firearms instructor would be great.
Yeah.
And I look back from now to then, I go, holy smokes.
What was I thinking?
I thought I knew some stuff, but to a certain degree, as you implied, the more I learn, the more I realize what I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at my age now, and I wish I had more time. There's so much stuff that I want to learn. There's no way that I'm ever going to live long enough to reach a level of expertise in the many things that I have an interest in. I'm not going to stop. I'll pick them off one at a time and who knows? Maybe God will bless me and let me live to be 150.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, gang, there's a quick plug for the USCCA Defensive Pistol Program, or DPP. We're going to be, here at the home base, we're going to be running it. I suspect that there will be some times I'm going to be hosted on the road for it, and I'll probably be traveling around the country doing it. So, if you're watching us from somewhere and you think, let me look up that Defensive Pistol Program and see what it is, reach back out to me and throw me an email with some questions. You can find Steve on the USCCA site as well. Throw him some questions too. And then what'll happen is, reach out to me, and you guys want to put some people together. You got some colleagues, some friends, some shooting groups, and you get enough people, I'll come train you.
absolutely.
It'll be
right.
fun.
Yeah.
So the other reason that we brought you out here, actually, to be honest, the main reason we brought you out here, the new program from the USCCA, the non-lethal program. That really got me for a couple of reasons. When I heard it was coming out, I think I started pinging, one of the regional counselors, regional training guys, pretty quick, because I'm like, I hear this is coming out. Get me on the early list, because one of the things that I've been fortunate to do with my team of instructors is we try to stay on the forefront of evolving training. So I saw this as a good evolution. Plus, I had a certification through Taser, through Saber, which they weren't redoing because their whole training mantra just kind of, from what it seems like to me, fell apart.
Yeah. Well, when we kind of moved in on some of that and established ourselves as their key training group to continue that for folks, and recertifications and stuff like that will come through us. We put the whole package together, and of course we have great partners with ASP and Taser and Byrna and all of those things. And one of the things that we've discussed, and it's not a new discussion, but we became more focused on it, is there are plenty of folks out there that are uncomfortable with firearms, or maybe they live in a location or something that has prohibitions on it that makes it not a feasible choice.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the ability to protect themselves and their family. And there are other choices out there. So these less lethal options are great, and I'm thrilled that we're doing it. And when we started developing it, I said, yep, that's going to be a good thing, particularly for our partners that we want to try to support with those options. I mean, it's not so much for us. We at the USCCA, we were not really doing those. We certify instructors for them. So we're instructor certifiers, not student. We don't do a lot of the end user stuff, but we're thrilled. It was a project that we were discussing before we sit down here. I had to be a little creative to get it on the calendar, and it took us a while. So we're here. I bet we've talked about this for a year. I bet we've been in the works easily trying to get this done. So
and we just had to find the right date that worked for your schedule, our schedule, where we could put everything together. Yeah. And so far, riding the high of the weekend and watching the RPD team and about half the class was RPD team, and the other half were just students of ours that had done some other training, and we had talked about the program, and they decided, hey, if these guys are talking about it and these guys are actually going to it themselves, why can't I? And I think everybody learned a lot. We had a couple of people learned quite a bit about their gear and about themselves. But in the end, I think it was a really good weekend. So that's a nice high to come off of. And then finally to get into this, I'm sitting in the back of the room. I got a bunch of notes. I'm listening. And, a lot of it I know, but it's good to hear it from that other source who they did the research. They did everything from that side and came almost to the same conclusion.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's fun. And it's, as you know, we had some conversations, we worked so hard to get this, and we were, very persistent. And, there was a brief period there where we weren't sure if we were going to make it. And, thanks to your hard work and the commitment of your team and stuff like that, we were able to put this class together. But, as we discussed, I think now, we're on the way. And so in the future, we've established that this is a good partnership and a good mix, that it'll be easier to future classes, I think will be easier for us to schedule and get put on.
We did the what I was calling the buy-in to get it to work,
Yeah.
right? I put a lot out there. I didn't pressure Steve so much, but I know who he pressured, and we made it happen. So now it's like they're looking at going, okay, there might be something here if we can do this periodically.
Well, it's kind of interesting. And I can't remember if I shared all this with you, but I was hearing it from two sides, right? So I'm talking to you, and I'm working, and I know you were working through our regional training manager, but I was hearing that side of it too, and I just said, wait a minute, I have a solution.
Yeah.
Right. I got a way we can do this, and they were a little skeptical because it's. I guess to a certain degree, you could say out of my lane, right? This is
okay.
The non-lethal is not my primary focus. The live fire is. Although I was in the initial training counselor program with all of them, we got certified with everybody else. It's not my primary focus. But I said, look, I can do this. I've got the certification. I've got the experience with the materials. Let's take care of Dave and get this going. So. It was persistence on your part, because like I said, I kept hearing, he keeps calling and stuff like that. And I go, I got this.
And a little creative thinking. And
reassuring them that we could do this. And it was a matter of getting them to understand that this is doable, right? It's not outside of what we are trying to do or trying to accomplish. And so that persistence on, like I said, really it's your part, because I mean, you weren't a pest to me, but we did talk about it, and
trust me, I felt like it.
I felt I didn't feel you're a pest. I just felt like, gosh, I wish I could get an answer on this. I'm working on it, and so like I said, the timing was just right, where it came up again, and I said, I got this. How about this? Listen to this. Boom, boom, boom. And they went, oh, well, yeah, that'll work, and then it became no big deal.
Right.
And
because they realized that even though it was non-traditional, it's not going to cause any issues.
No, right. It fit perfectly in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that we did it. Like I said, the other was a smoke screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So
we'll do this.
Yeah, ignore the man behind the curtain. Right? Don't pay attention to him.
Well, we're really going to do this, but I want you to look over here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't worry about this right here. This is going to, and we figured it out. It's like it is about, okay, let's not, the USCCA and the training division doesn't want to take a loss on sending you somewhere, because it is in the bottom end. It is about profit and loss.
Sure.
It has to be, or else you're not in business, right? And I understood that. And I'm like, okay, if we can get X amount of people at this dollar rate to commit to this, okay, that's the give, right? We just gave them a bunch of money, but we're going to do this too. We're going to give you a little bit extra money now. So that's the gravy.
It's not extra for us because of the way we tied it together. I mean, and when I say extra, it's not extra effort or resources. It's a little extra time. I spent a couple extra days here, but it all fits in. It's actually economical to do it that way.
Yeah, and I suspect this might happen again next year, unless there's a reason to change it. Yeah. So, but in the end, I'm kind of excited to be able to bring the USCCA non-lethal program to our clients and our future clients, and be able to offer it here at the training center. In whatever form we can do. We're only on day one, so my brain is still trying to figure out how I can apply this and where. And I'm sure after tomorrow I'll have better ideas, but I've got a pretty good idea of what segments to do and what we can blend and all that stuff, and that'll work its way out.
That's always a fun conversation. We started to get into some of that today, and I had to stop because we're actually going a different direction.
Yeah, that one goes off way in the weeds pretty quick.
Yeah, and I love hearing people's ideas, and I'm very fortunate that I get to go see a lot of different partners and hear what they're doing, what's working for them, and I can share some of those ideas as I move around the country teaching the class. Well, we have a partner over here doing this, and it's working real well for them, and hearing ideas on what works relative to specific types of classes or times of years or how they put things together. And It's, our goal is to support you in this specific case, and help you be successful. And if bringing this particular product, the non-lethal program, which once again I think is great. If I were back running full-time my business, there's no question I would be diving into this as well.
Yeah, well, it made sense for us because we have exposure to pretty much everything that's in the program. Yeah. We have used it. We have trained people on it, so it just made sense. But now it's got a more national name instead of just Dave's little non-lethal class. And what's going to happen now is I suspect it's going to get some notoriety. It's going to get some, we're going to be right now, as far as I know, the only ones in New York State are going to be offering this. And I'm sure that'll change. And as the word gets out, other instructors, I invited 6 other people that are colleagues of mine around the state, but the dates didn't work out. Some of them actually have real jobs still, right? We don't have the luxury of traveling around the country. Yeah, Steve's trailing around the country having fun with everybody. I'm running all this thing full time, and then some of my instructors, this is their part-time job, but they were able to take the time out. But some of these other guys just couldn't do it. So I suspect maybe on the next round we might wrap them into this.
It's the old herding cats thing, and it's always the toughest part. We got plenty of people that want to do it. There's no question, but can we all do it at the same time?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can do it this weekend. I can't do it that weekend. I can do it this, and that's the difficult part. And I totally understand it. We have priorities, our families, and stuff like that. And particularly when you get into this time of year where school is out, summer vacations are starting. We have those kind of commitments. It really starts to tighten those calendars down. And we, as you said, we are new direction. We are going to do things that we've never done before.
Right.
Now, when I say that, aside from upcoming curriculum development, right? So, we're gonna develop our defensive pistol program out more with our low light and our vehicle defense and all those kind of things.
I'm excited to see how that blossoms.
Yeah, well, you'll be part of that, no question. But even the availability of classes is going to change. So my short answer to people when they call and they say, "Hey, can you come to a class?" Yes. Here's what it's going to take. Right. So we will again this fall project out for next year our training tour. So starting probably in March, maybe as early as February, we'll start having a class every 3 weeks all across the country. But that is, as much as we do, as hard as we work looking at that calendar, there's going to be plenty of people go, "I can't make that, I can't make that, I don't have time to travel." And so they'll go, "Hey, can you do a class here?" And the short answer is yes. We will add additional classes in. And this is where you come in. So we'll have somebody, as an example, on the East Coast say, "Hey, can you do a class?" And I go, "Well, hang on just a second. Hey, Dave, what's your availability through this time span?" And Dave says, "Yeah, I'm good." And I'll say, "Yeah." Call him back. I say, "Yeah, I have a DPP instructor available, and we can do a class for you." So we're hoping to make more of this available over a broader calendar than what we already do.
Yeah. It's funny is years ago, I actually have the class in my catalog somewhere still. I titled a class, "I Can't Make It, When's the Next One?" And it was just going to be, I actually wrote up a curriculum for it. It was just going to be, just a skills class, whatever. But I was going to put it up there. And then, I was going to get all these people like, "Oh, well," because we get that all the time. I had people for this past weekend, like, "Oh, that weekend's not good. Is there going to be another one?" I don't know. Because there isn't one on the schedule now.
Yeah.
I can do another one, but I don't know when that's going to be because my schedule's pretty booked out till October.
Yeah. Well, it gets hard sometimes, and I tell people, so I've got a stretch here where I've basically been gone, 3 classes in a row back to back. I'm home for a day and I'm on. And, people ask me, "Hey, can you come do this? Can you come do this?" And I go, "You know what? Like you, my wife would like it if I was home once in a while." Right?
She wants to see what I look like today, maybe this week.
She's very tolerant. God bless her. She's a saint. If I could, I would put her in for sainthood. She's tolerated me for a very long time. But, we enjoy each other's company and we have mutual interests. And so I want to be home as well.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pat Dave and I say, this is why we want to develop that relationship with you so that I get a call and I go, yeah, I can't travel anymore. I need some time at home. But I've got, in this region, I've got Dave and our mutual friend, who's not named. We want to develop them as, you guys are already USCCA training counselor, defensive pistol. We want to find a way to your ability as far as time goes. We're not trying to overwork you, but if you have some time, and we want to try to capitalize on that. So,
yeah, well, we did all the work getting me to a certain point. Time to use me.
Right, I agree. Right, so we, particularly you and I mean, like I said, we were sneaky Pete about how we did this and managed to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Those are not the droids you're looking for.
That's right.
But we managed to get you.
Hey, look over here. Oh, Dave just snuck in the door.
Well, it's almost funny. So somebody asked me one time, well, he's a training counselor because you weren't in that first training counselor class.
Yep.
And they're kind of, I just said, oh, yeah, he's been with us for a while, Yeah. Oh, okay.
Smoke grenade.
So that, but we had mutual goals, what we wanted to achieve, and we worked. We were very accessible and flexible on how we got this done, and persistent. It worked out.
That's the way we had to do it.
Yeah.
So, gang, number one, persistence pays off, but also, I was fortunate to have trained with people under the likes of Dave Spalding, Tom Givens, John Holshin, Greg Hamilton, and I could go on and on and on about all those names. You want to see them all, go look on my bio on my website. There's a whole list of them. But I was fortunate enough to go with some pretty high-end trainers, and I learned a lot from them on multiple occasions. It wasn't a one-off. And that carried me through my goal of going through Dave Spalding's week, which turned into 2 weeks, his instructor certification. It carried me through that. It carried me well, prepared me well for the DPP. It prepared me well for a bunch of other stuff. When I did Tom Givens' Range Master course, I wasn't the top shot, but I was pretty darn close. But I was there to gain the knowledge. I didn't need the accolades of I was the top shot. But all of that preparation over those years made it feasible for me to be able to do that. And now I want to be able to share that with other instructors so that I can become, I'm never going to become Tom Givens, Dave Spalding, John Holshin. Never. I know that. But I want to be able to do what they did for me.
Yeah, those are great role models and mentors. And you mentioned some individuals that I saw. So Dave, I've taken classes. I think I've been to 3 of his classes, if I remember right. And he was talking about it in the process of his last instructor certification. I'm looking at my calendar, and I just couldn't pull it off. And of course, he said, "Yeah, I'm going to retire." And I thought, "Yeah, right. I've heard that before." And then
Finally, he did.
Dang if he didn't actually retire.
Yeah.
And John, you mentioned John. We were just talking about him. After years of hearing about him, looking at him, I finally committed and took a class. And then, son of a gun.
Why couldn't I get here 20 years ago when he was doing training, right?
But the preparation that you do when you commit and stuff, to a certain degree, it makes things easier. And I know as we go, we're similar in respect that when I go take a class, regardless of whether it's instructor certification or instructor development, there's a student I want to work real hard. I want to absorb and take as much out. And to a certain degree, there's maybe some nerves or apprehension. But I got to tell you, you were one of the best prepared to come through DPP CI.
Well, thank you.
To a degree, it was easy for Justin and I. We didn't have any real difficulty making a decision because of all of the groundwork that you had done. And the truth is if you do that, and you said it just a minute ago, when you go to take a class, It's not that it's a cakewalk, but you shouldn't struggle through it,
Right.
because you've prepared yourself. And of course, when I go, I want to be challenged. Whether it's an instructor development class, certification class, I want to be challenged. I don't want something just handed to me, because the goal there is to get better. I'm not a certificate chaser. I don't need my resume padded, right? So my goal is the educational part of it, and then the opportunity to prepare myself for those kind of things. And we're going to hold a standard. We're going to raise the standard at the USCCA for our future certified instructors, and we're going to raise the standard for our current instructors.
Oh, yeah. It should be.
So we're going to elevate that, and I think everybody benefits: the instructor that we elevate, the student that they teach, the public relative to the concealed carry person or the gun handler across the board. So everybody benefits from raising that standard.
Oh, yeah. It's, in fact, I had a recent email conversation with somebody who wants to become an instructor. And I sent them, I've got a Word doc that has everything that I would normally say to somebody who says that to me. And I just cut and pasted in there, because I've said it so well in one email. I actually saved it, because I don't want to have to keep typing it again, because it's 7 or 8 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, you got to do this. You should have this. You should have this. This long of experience or documentable experience. Prove it. Right. And then you're going to have to pass an assessment test. You're going to have to pass this pre-assessment. You're going to have to do all this stuff. And you got to know what you want, and you have the right mindset. You got to have the right goals. And if the almighty dollar is your only goal, I'm not going to be very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I want you to be a resource instead of just a resource for yourself. And what happens is I had somebody actually get, we got to the point where we're talking on the phone, and they just said, well, you're just trying to make it too difficult. And I said, yes.
Yeah.
It should be. Yeah. It should not be. I showed up and I sat through 2 or 3 days of this, and I get a certificate no matter what happens. You have to put in the work. You have to have that specter of, okay, if I'm going to the certification course, I could screw this up and not make it. It's part of the deal.
Well, if you really think about it big picture, so this is not an award. I mean, for me, I'm really training people how to protect themselves and their families. So there's a high consequence for not doing a good job. Mm-hmm. And I take that very seriously, because I'm very serious about protecting myself and my family. And I know the investment in time and resources that I put in to make sure, to the best of my ability, that I have the skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities to do that. And we get asked by our students to provide them with that. And like I said early on, I had no idea. What is a firearms instructor? What is it? And as I continue through my development, and I start to understand then the responsibility of providing the appropriate training and education to my students who ask for that, it becomes very personal to me.
Yeah.
And it's very important. So I've lost my sympathy for those instructors that don't want to put the work in. They just want to show up and get a certificate. And it's unfortunate that they're still out there. It's not always easy to be sure that they have appropriate information before they arrive. Sometimes it's because they don't ask. There's a variety of reasons. And once they get there, you go, hey, look, you're not ready. I'm sorry, you're not ready for this. And not that you can't be, but there's a path, and there's, like you said, there's the experience, the training, all of those things that we have to put in. And I continue. I mean, I'll admit, there was a point in my career I thought, I made it. I'm a firearms instructor, And
then you looked at the rest of the hill.
Yeah, well, then, thank God I pushed a little bit past, and I went, oh, yeah, I'm a firearms instructor, but I really don't know much as a firearms instructor. And I had great mentors, and that's what it help me maintain a desire to get better. I'd look at these guys and I'd listen to them talk, and I'd think to myself, well, how do they know that? Where did that come from? And I'd have conversations with them, and they would offer advice on teaching and stuff like that. And I was really blessed to have people ahead of me. You know, I had a Randy say it. It says, you know, standing on the shoulder of giants.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And the list is too long for me to, you know, talk about the what I got from the different guys, and each one of them was just a little push, a little further along, a little push, a little further along, and keep me going. And I've got them out there now that are still doing that. My new boss, right, Mike Seekleiner, who's our new director of training education, and I've known Mike for a little while, not real well, and I've taken a couple classes from him, but you know, now I get to interact with him on a, you know, daily basis. Not just for my boss, Steve, hey, you got to do this, but for instructor development, and he's a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. And so here I am. I got another track. I got another opportunity to continue to fill up, move forward.
Yeah. You know, and you know, with recent events, I did download his book, and I was going through it probably for like maybe the second time, because I remember reading it years ago. And I'll tell you, just like repeating a course, you find something new. I'm reading this book with, you know, if it's been 10 years, I've had 10 years of growth. And I go back and read the book, and I'm picking out new stuff.
Yeah. Stuff you didn't understand or didn't get, same thing. Yeah. So Dustin Solomon's book, I got it, I started reading it 10 years ago or so. Is it back here? Yeah, building shows. Right, there you go. So I started reading it about 10 years ago. Yeah. And, you know, some of it's like this, and I'll tell you the truth. I'll laugh if Dustin sees this, but I started reading this book, and I said, this is BS, and I'm ready to throw this thing in the trash can. Yeah. Because it challenged me, and it challenged some of the things I thought I knew, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's not an open mind, and you know, that's not how you're going to get better, and you know, let's look at it again. And I started looking at it and researching, and I went, wow, man, how much did I not know? And so it started me on a track that for the last 10 years has been some of the most interesting and challenging from many respects path towards being a better instructor and better shooter and stuff like that. And so it has also opened me up to other things. So I read his book, and then Randy suggested a couple of books that were along those paths, and it's been crazy. Oh, it's man. So like I said, I wish I'd have been smarter when I was younger, so that I could have capitalized. You know, the old saying that, you know, youth is wasted on the young. So it is.
I just thought of something. Tom Givens has put out a compilation of some of his stuff in a big PDF form or printed form, depending on which one you want. And I keep forgetting that I got to email him to get a copy of it, because, you know, again, you know, John Holshin never wrote a book. He just gave us a lot of knowledge. Yeah. You know, Dave Spalding has written, you know, hundreds or thousands of articles, and, you know, a book. It's been reprinted a bunch of times. I've read it probably about 4 or 5 times. I now have a signed copy of it. Yay. You know, that was a good fun moment. I also made him sign one of his hats for me, because that's up on the bookshelf now. And then, I got Dustin's. I've got this, motor learning and performance. I stick there because I want it to be a mental reminder for me. And then, but, now I want to grab something from Tom, and, there's nuggets in there that I'm definitely going to pick up. But I just got to remember to email him so I can get the darn thing.
Talking about having a real job, right?
Yeah, right.
That old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? Yeah. And so I do, but I do have responsibilities. I wish I could just take, 3 months and just read books and, do some training, stuff like that, not have those responsibilities. And I can't, so I got to fit it in, but, it's almost every day I go, oh man, there's another thing that I should read or study. Mm-hmm. or podcasts or, something to listen to. There's just so much out there, which to a certain degree is why I have less sympathy for some of those instructors that are not putting in the work, because there's so much resources available for them out there that there's just not really any excuse.
They don't want to they're either afraid to take advantage of it because they might get told they could do better, or they don't think they have the time or the money to do it to get better. So, they can't invest in themselves because they sometimes prevent themselves from doing it. Mm-hmm. They're like, what am I going to learn? I don't know. I had somebody a long time ago who, was a good friend of mine. He did a lot of training and everything, and he kind of brought me into the training group and everything, which was great because I got to meet some really good guys. And when I expressed interest, I said, if you ever get an opening, you ever want to add somebody, I'd be interested. And he's like, Dave, you're already an instructor. What can you learn? And I'm like, dude, I go, I know this much, maybe this much of in the bucket in the ocean of knowledge, and I want to get a bigger bucket so I can have this much more. And I'm like, no, I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to see more. And he was like, oh, okay, well, what are you doing this summer? Let's go.
Yeah, that's great.
So gang, we kind of exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a nice free form. Let's talk about stuff, right? Where our hearts lie. And, in training people, but also training instructors and making the industry better. It's amazing what can be done with the right mindset and getting the right instructor cadre, getting the right people developed. I tell people all the time, and, none of my people will say I've never said this. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by some good people, and in a lot of ways, some great people, because of the work that they've put in on their own, and then what we've been able to do together. And, the instructors that we get together periodically. In fact, we're kind of overdue, and we'll run national certifications, we'll play with that. And that gives them a sense of where they rank in the grand scheme of things. And the next time we get together, there might be some assessments we're going to run and, give them some tune-ups. But, it's hard work, but it's work that pays off. It's not just like, oh, I got better at this thing and I can leave it here in this box of a building and go home and do nothing with it. This stuff that we can get better at as an instructor, whether it's shooting or delivery or communication, translates everywhere. So,
no question.
Yeah. So, gang, if this wasn't a big sales pitch if you decide you want to become an instructor, you're going to have to put some work in. The starting point, something like defensive pistol program. If you want to go down that route of the concealed carry instructor or just the concealed carry practitioner.
Yeah.
It's a damn good class, people. I'm not saying because Steve's sitting here. Okay. I'm saying it because all the stuff I've done and all the stuff I've seen, which is still like that much, this thing got my attention when I saw the hook in it. The whole, the sleep cycle stuff when it first was put out there. It was like, I understand that.
Yeah. Well, we work real hard on it.
Yeah.
And it's not done. There's still plenty to do. And if you have a desire, there's a path.
Yep.
Right. We're always a resource, and we'll try to assist as best we can. And like I said, we have more planned.
It's going to be good.
It's just a matter of finding the time to start working it in, and you're going to see it come. But come see Dave, when you get a chance.
Yeah.
And I promise you won't regret it.
And honestly, if you're ever in the Grand Junction, I keep forgetting the name of your city, Steve, and I apologize. Where you live?
Well, Montrose is
Montrose. Yes,
the city that I live in.
Yes.
South
So
of Grand Junction.
if you're over by, and we'll say that end of Colorado, the west end, which is really beautiful. I get there once a year. And it's just, I love that area because the hiking and the views are outstanding. Do you ever get tired of it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, we've got the San Juan Mountains, and we spend plenty of time up there, and it's spectacular. Like everybody, if you get a little west of us and you get into Utah, you got the desert.
Yeah.
And to me, that's spectacular too. So there's. It would be hard to get tired of that.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And of course, this year, Wendy and I went to Arches. And we drove that long, straight-ish road all the way out, and it got desolate pretty quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you know, we'll put some info for Steve on how to get a hold of him if you're ever out in the Colorado area. You want to see if he's doing any classes where he is, or you just want to figure out where he's going and where he's doing the USCCA training tour. I would urge you. Granted, Justin's phenomenal. Some of the other guys that are out there on the training tour are great. But I'll tell you, if you can get a class with Steve, it's going to be a gem. You're going to love it. Like I said, I was glad that I put in the work, and I could have gone to one of the other instructor courses and done well, but I wanted to get me in front of this guy because I had a goal. And I think when we sat down that morning after, and I said, "All right, Steve, this is what I want to do," you went, "Well,"
yeah. So we didn't really have a path, but
we figured it out. Yeah. So, gang, thanks for checking in. Bunch of stuff you got to do. Number one, you got to like this video, please. Right? Subscribe to the channel, share it out there, and then by all means, hit that notification button. So whenever we put a new one up, which we just put a few days ago, we're trying to get a regular basis on this. We're just coming up with some really good stuff. And this thing just came on the spur of the moment when, Ed was like, "Hey, I'm going to be around. You think Steve wants to do a podcast?" And I hit him up and I got a big thumbs up. I'm like, "Yeah, that's a yes." So, but yeah, check us out on the channel, check Steve out, and then keep an eye on what we're doing at Rochester Personal Defense coming up here, because I've got a feeling there's going to be some new stuff coming out of the schedule here. So, Steve, thanks for coming on the podcast. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and then I'm definitely looking forward to the future. I think this is going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Gang, thanks for checking in. See you later. And then, don't forget, check out that video right here. We're floating right above Steve's head.